You are plugged into what the church won't say.
Where we have difficult conversations at the foot of the cross.
And you may hear some fireworks in the background. That ain't just the anointing on this conversation, but it is around 4th of July, y'all. So, today I got my very own, my firstborn daughter, Maya Plenty, joining me to have a conversation I think y'all really need to listen to. We're going to talk about how my lack of activity in her life affected her and how she got to a place of forgiveness right after this shameless plug. Stay tuned, y'all.
Your bricks in danger, your chicks in danger. See, he will change ya if you come hang with us. So put that weight up and get your weight up. We not haters, no, we just dangerous.
Hey, welcome back. As promised, we're going to dive right into this conversation. But before we do, I want to kind of set the stage so y'all can have an idea of where we was. Mm-hmm. So at 15 years old, I lost my virginity to your mother. You looked at that like you didn't know that.
Oh, baby, I ain't know that.
So I'm 15 years old. This is my 8th grade year going into high school that summer. Mm-hmm. And I lost my virginity to your mom. And she told me she was pregnant. So within all that, I'm 15 and I'm like, I don't even know what to do with that information. Mm-hmm. It was so bad, I didn't even tell my parents. Right. And they end up finding out because as she started the show, Whispers in the Hood got back and my mom's asking me, why didn't you even tell me that she was pregnant? And that was a whole nother situation. But, and the funny part is, so y'all can kind of see where we were, y'all live 4 houses down. Wow. 4 houses. So your mom lived 4 houses down from me, where I grew up. And so here she is pregnant. I didn't know what to do. I'm 15 years old. And I was 16 years old and 1 month when you were born. Right. So I am a sophomore in high school. No. I'm a freshman still.
You shouldn't be a freshman. You should be
No, I'm a freshman. I'm a freshman. I'm wrapping up the end of my freshman year because the school year ends in June. So I'm wrapping up my
March.
the end of And so you was born in April, yeah. And so this the end of my freshman year, and she So I'm
ugly.
fresh.
It's ugly.
Yeah, it's real ugly. And she brings you in. I was there when she had you. I got a phone call and said she was in labor. I came up there and signed the birth certificate, and I don't even know what that was like a debacle because you told me later that I put the wrong age on there.
Yeah, you had to lie about your age because you were underage.
I was underage, right. Yeah, and I didn't know. I'm just signing the birth certificate. It's my daughter. It was just crazy. It was nuts. So. And the funny part is, I was on punishment. This is just to kind of paint the picture where I was on punishment, and my mama didn't want me to go because I was on punishment. But my daddy talked her into allowing me to go up there and see you because she just had you. So it was just the craziness of painting this picture. So I do want to say this: when she got you home, I did see you when she got you home, and I was seeing you actually pretty regularly. But something happened with me and your grandma, her mother. And she told me she didn't like me. Mm-hmm. She was pretty clear about that.
Yeah.
She didn't like me. And I don't know why she didn't. I'm 15 years old, 16 years old. I don't even know who I am or nothing. But I did know that made me uncomfortable. And I didn't know how to handle that discomfort. I didn't know how to handle that situation as far as navigate her personality. And so that was the beginning of my downfall with being in your life. Though you were 4 doors away, 4 houses down. What? And so you would often see me, and I would see you on your bike and on your big wheel.
On my big wheel,
yeah, baby. I remember that big wheel. But how did that make you feel seeing your dad, but not seeing your dad?
So I don't know if I ever say I can remember seeing you outdoors. You may have seen me when I was outdoors. I probably was too busy playing, but I know I would show up to your house and you were never there. So it was kind of like this emptiness. I would go, you wouldn't answer. Your daddy wouldn't answer, you wouldn't answer. So I was getting that much. So I'm like, okay, this is the right house. So I never understood why you weren't returning it. So that made me feel away. And then when you did start to show up, it was always with boys' clothes. It was always with boys' shoes, bikes, clothing, jackets, what have you was. So I was like, oh, he want a boy. Oh. And that's when I began to harden my heart towards you and everybody else, and I kind of changed my demeanor.
Wow.
You probably remember when I was younger, I was
I do.
Real tomboyish, real hard to get to, and that was why.
So you thought I wanted a boy.
I thought you wanted a boy.
Interesting. And you know what it was? I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm 16 and I'm trying to be a father, but don't know what that looked like, and maybe I just didn't know. And I'm just trying to provide, like my dad provided for me in some form or fashion, and just too ignorant to know. But that's interesting. So you thought I wanted a boy.
I thought you wanted a boy. I thought that's what the problem was.
Wow.
So I altered as much as I could. And I didn't want to wear dresses. I didn't wear dresses. Y'all had to fight me and beat me to get them.
I remember that.
Right. I
remember us doing family pictures and family events.
And I wanted the pants.
And you was mad. I didn't know that's what it was about.
That's what it was about.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, as you got older, I do remember you being very standoffish. Not just with me, but just with my family all together. What was going on with you?
So in that time, with your family, I felt like they were an extension of you. And when I came around, they always managed to pour in so much love and speak all these words of affirmation. But I didn't see that daily. So it was like when I'm in your face, it felt fake. Only when I'm around, but you're not reaching out to me. Even when I lived close, and then when we did end up moving further, it was like, oh, well, you're so far away, but I see you going on vacations. I see you going over here for your kids. I see y'all taking these places further than where I live, just an hour out. And then you actually end up moving out there, which made it even worse.
Exactly.
So it was like, it's not a distance thing. It's a me thing. Maybe they also wanted sons. They all had boys.
So let me kind of fill in the blanks for those that don't know. So you guys moved to DeKalb.
Right.
And I end up going to college
at
NIU, which is in DeKalb. So I'm out there now as a college student living in a dorm, and I'm seeing you still very irregularly. I saw you here and there. It was spotty. I remember it very spotty. But so at this point, how are you feeling at that point? So I'm now in college.
That's where I'm feeling like I didn't want a relationship anymore. I didn't care for your relationship. I was like, if they don't really care to come and get me or to see me or build real relationships with me, why would I care about that? So at this point, it's kind of, I was trying to be better out of sight, out of mind mentality.
Gotcha.
But I couldn't get it out of my mind. When every time I see me, I see you. Everybody's reminding me, oh, you look just like your daddy. What daddy? I don't have a daddy.
Wow.
So that's why you will always hear me say, I look like me.
Gotcha.
I never wanted to look like you or own that up. They're like, I look like me. Because who is he? You know? So anything that was associated with you, anything that was associated with your family, I didn't want to be a part of. And then, that trickled to your sisters, that trickled to your mother.
Right.
So,
and you know what the funny part is? I want to speak to the other side of the spectrum. Obviously, the imaturity's there. Obviously, I don't know who I am and where I'm going is there. Right. But also, there was a shame. I felt ashamed that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to be there. I was so unstable as a person. So I couldn't be stable for you, but I knew I wanted to be. And so when I was around you, I felt awkward. I felt weird. I didn't know what to say. I almost wanted to apologize, but I kind of knew I was going to do it again because I just was who I was at that point. I'm just too young.
Right.
So you get what I'm saying? So yeah, I want to paint that picture too.
I get that.
Yeah, and the funny part is, I think with a lot of men that's not in their kid's life, the longer you're away, the more awkward you feel once you are in that child's presence. And a lot of men run from that because they don't want to feel awkward. They don't want to feel weird. They don't want to deal with
vulnerability.
Yeah,
it's
being vulnerable. And that's one thing about, I'm glad you said that, about black men in our community. We wasn't taught to be vulnerable.
Right.
Like if you fall and hurt yourself, get up, suck it up. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. If you're feeling a type of way, we don't want to hear that. Be a man. So expression was not my strength at that point in time either.
And I took that on.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about that. You took that on. You was
to
like
the auntie's
you
degree.
did. You was so nonchalant. You was so
I think
I don't care.
That was a lot of my character though. Like I am very nonchalant and very sarcastic, but it was like with not caring, I built that around the waiting period for you. There was the times where you like, I'm coming, and I would still give hope. Like my mom was like, oh, you don't have to pack. You know you're not gonna come. And I was like, no, I'm still gonna pack. And I stayed up to midnight or 2 in the morning, and I would sit by the door, and she'd be like, oh, lay down till he come. Then I'm gonna sit right here on the couch, and I'll wake up the next day, and you still ain't come. I'm like, he coming, and I would sit there. I didn't want to go nowhere else, to the store, to the park, and I would just stay with my little bag, waiting. So then when you started to come back around, it was like,
yeah.
I don't care.
And to be totally honest with you, I really at 23, I gave my life to God, and I think that's where the pivot began.
Yeah.
That the change began. But I had did so much damage prior to that. I knew that you wasn't believing anything I was trying to say to you, but that was the beginning of the change. But I wasn't quite there either, because I was still trying to not just figure out who I am. Now I'm trying to figure out who I am as this supposed to be man of God.
And I'm going to tell you what triggered me. After you got saved, I remember you came and picked me up, went to a gas station, all this, and I called you Nate, and you said, you going to call me Daddy. Because the Bible says, and you gave me this whole quote about honoring the Father and all this. And I was just like, who do you think you are?
Wow.
You haven't built a relationship with me. You haven't put in the work. You don't deserve to be called. And I would call you everything else. Hey, I refuse for years to call you anything to reference you.
I remember that.
At all. And they be like, your daddy. And I'm like, yeah, go get y'all daddy. When I was talking to my sisters.
Right.
So anytime people are like, oh, where's your dad? I don't know where your brother is. Like, I would never give you that.
I remember you. I remember that conversation, not as in detail, but I do remember saying you ain't gonna call me Nate.
Right.
And you used to avoid calling me anything. I
wouldn't call you anything.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that. So I also remember as I started to grow in my faith, I used to pray a lot about you. I used to pray about our relationship, that God would heal it, and that we'll get to a place where we can safely express our feelings. And it didn't happen right away, but I started to see a slight change in you, and you were just maturing. That's really kind of what it was, and but I saw a little something. I remember you was around 17,
maybe,
and you came to live with us for a while.
My junior year.
Yeah, junior year. Yeah, you was around
16,
that.
17.
Yeah, 16, 17, and I'm like, oh, God is answering my prayer. I'm thinking this is the moment where we're about to have some type of healthy relationship.
And I think that made it worse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so I remember, I want to talk about that because I think that was an interesting season. So I don't remember exactly what was going on, but I knew you had fell behind in your schooling.
Yeah, I moved too much. So I was behind in credits, and they wanted me to retake certain classes I didn't need to retake.
Absolutely.
Or they were discredited in certain classes because I didn't need them in different schools wherever it was.
Right.
But where you were, they offered overnight night classes.
Night classes, yeah.
And that allowed me to play catch up and then still graduate on time.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, and you was cool with moving in. I'm like, oh, wow, I get to be with my daughter, get to set some structure, And so I do remember, and you fill in the blanks, so you may remember more than me because you lived through it. But I do remember you being behind, and I remember me asking you, let's just chill on the boys. Let's just chill on all of that. Let's get caught up in your schooling. And once we get caught up, then we'll talk more about the boy thing. But let's just put that on hold because we behind the 8 ball school-wise.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. I remember saying that much.
I remember this.
Okay.
I love that you brought that point up.
Yeah, and I brought that up. And I remember coming home, and then it's boys on my porch.
Yes.
You know, and I'm like, I thought we had this conversation.
You did.
Right. So what happened in your process at that time? Was you being rebellious, or was it just...
I'm going to take you back, first of all. I feel like what saved our relationship a lot of, to be honest, I'm going to contribute to Butter, your ex-wife. Because when she was there, I felt like she was the bridge we needed.
Okay.
Like, she kind of spoke both of our languages. She knew what the intentions of your heart, and she knew how I was feeling because she was coming to pick me up. She was interacting with me, and I think I built a relationship with her first because I trusted her, and she hadn't done anything to me, so I let her in first before I did with you. When I came to stay with you, the boy problem was I wasn't into boys. They were literally my best friends. So because I had that mentality young that I wanted to be a boy, my whole life, all of my friends were boys. So you were like, chill on the boy thing. And it's like, so you don't want me to make any friends. I'm not seeing it as I done developed now. I'm a little bit filled out. And they're seeing it differently because that's not my interaction with them. That wasn't our intention. That's not what we were doing. When I went and hanged out with these guys, we were doing the same thing I would do with females. There was nothing sexual or intimate with any of them that whole time. So for you, you're saying it like, okay, you young, you like boys like you. And I remember you even saying things about my clothes, and it was like, well, these are all the clothes I got. They're not tight because I like them tight. They tight because I couldn't fit them. Right, I can't fit them no more.
Right.
So it was like, you're commenting on things you could either fix or you're going to make worse because it was already one of my insecurities. My body is my insecurity because I didn't trust people with it because I knew how men thought. I knew how men thought because they were my friends. I was always around them. I heard what they were saying, but it never came to me. So the rebellion behind that was, I'm not going to be alone in a strange place because you see something differently than what it actually is.
I wish I would have explored that a little bit more because I didn't know that to this day.
Yeah.
You know?
So it was just that boy mentality, that tomboy growing up. And then when I got into high school, I still had that mentality. I wasn't clicking with females like that. I didn't let them in, and they just really didn't appeal to me.
Right.
So when I'm in class and guys is goofing off and being funny, guys are fun. You know what I'm saying? It's not drama. They're not arguing. It's not bickering over clothes or who look better or what man like who. Like, I didn't care about none of that, and they didn't either. They want to hang out, have a good time, be silly. That's all I want to do.
Right.
So that's what it was.
I get it. I get it now. I didn't get it then.
And then also, my god brother stayed around the corner for you, and we lived with them for years. Tito and them.
Yeah.
It's a group of 7 boys. My mom's best friend has 7 sons. They lived with us for years at a time. So I'm hanging out with him. I'm hanging out with his friends. So I'm kicking with, you see 5, 6 boys. These my brothers and my brother's friends. So that's what I was telling you when you was like, I don't want nobody calling the house. I'm like, they're my brothers. I don't care what nigga call. I don't care. And I'm like, I'm not finna cut off my brothers. Now you doing too much. So that's what it was.
Right. And so I think after a while, what happened, we kept going back and forth on that. And it was just like, this ain't working. This ain't working. This ain't working. And your mom came to get you. And it was a hard decision because I'm thinking this is about to be the change that I was praying for and hoping for, and it just went left. And when I sit there and you got in my mind, your 2 younger sisters, and I'm like, I gotta protect them at the same time. It was just a lot going on. It was just a lot going on at that point in time. So there you is she's going out of my life again, and I'm like, okay, God, I still want this to be whole and healthy. And all of a sudden, as you started to mature, something changed. And I remember us having conversations. I remember me coming to you and apologizing. I remember me coming to you and telling you I wish I would have did some things differently. And how did that make you feel when I first apologized?
The first time you apologized to me, I felt like it was for you. I didn't feel like it was, again, I didn't receive it. Okay. So I was like, this is for him to feel better. This has nothing to do, because even after that, we weren't constantly in communication. Like, nothing really changed as far as us building a more intimate relationship. So I'm like, he doing this so he could feel better. This don't have nothing to do with me.
Wow.
So I'll let you have it. And I'm like, okay. I hope you feel better. Like, that's what it was. So I wanted you to get whatever you feel like you, and I heard you, but it just didn't feel like what was going to change after that. Right. That's what I was looking for.
Right.
And then it didn't change as much. So I was just like,
whatever.
Right. Whatever.
I got you.
And then afterwards, you apologized again. You apologized, I want to say 2 or 3 times. And I took it at face value, because as I got older, I was like, I can't imagine having kids at 16. But then also, when I'm in my family structure with my mother, I'm the oldest of 4, and I'm doing all these things for them because she worked overnight. So it's like, this is exhausting. So once I finally got out on my own, it was like, imagine if that was my kid. Then I seen it from your viewpoint, like, having a kid at 16, I've been doing this my whole life.
Right.
And I thought it was going to be like a little breather when I came to your house. And once you started laying in on me so hard, it was like, what is wrong with you? I felt like I was guilty until proven innocent, and I wasn't going to play that. Like, I'm done nothing.
Right.
I'm not here because I'm a bad kid.
Right.
And And I feel like there was conversation that made it seem like my mother was struggling with me. And it was like, no, there was things that I did when I was younger. Like I got into stealing things. I got into selling cigarettes and selling weed. But it was because we did not have the money. So I wasn't stealing for luxury. I was stealing because none of us had clothes.
To survive.
I was right. I was stealing for me, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins even. Because we're not going to get made fun of and bullied and beat up. And if I was selling cigarettes or selling weed, it was just to get them, oh, you want to go to the zoo. And she slept. And I asked her multiple times. And no, don't worry about it. I got it. And she didn't come through it. I'm come through with it.
Gotcha.
So that was my mentality when I got to your house. It's like I've always had so much respect and responsibility. I never had anybody question what I was doing because I was never doing anything. So that was also another problem for me that I struggle with. Like,
because I was involved. I was very all in your business about
all
it.
the time. And it was like, I don't need a babysitter. I don't need somebody over my shoulder because I'm used to handling it.
And I was looking at it from the point of view of you're behind in your schooling. Let's get that. Let's stay focused on what that is, get you back to up to speed, and then we could talk about all the other things.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But all in all, though, how did you get to a place of just letting it go? And
that's how. Just seeing it from your perspective and thinking to myself, like, I've just done it with my siblings and I needed a break. I stepped out of that. And if I was in that situation, I didn't have much to pour into them. You know what I'm saying? And I probably damaged them a lot in the beginning, and we working through that now. How would you have did it at 16?
Right.
If you didn't know yourself, if you were still, you weren't even restored through God yet. You hadn't built that relationship with him to know you or to know him and know who you are, where you were going, or what your purpose was. And I needed you to kind of fill me up with nothing at all.
So basically, fill you up, but my cup was empty.
Right, when your cup was empty. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like, after I realized that I was asking somebody who was empty on the inside to fill me, and I was looking at my reflection, hoping that it would give me identity, I realized I had to build my own relationship with God, and then just see you at face value. Okay, he's making his own connections with God. He's trying to heal and restore himself, and he's doing the work. Now I have to do the work within myself. Yeah. Because like I said in the beginning, I felt like your first apology was for you, and that's fine because sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes you have to apologize. You holding on to it damaged you. Right. You have to let it go for yourself. And then it's on the other person to receive that or not. So once I got to that point where I could receive it, even if it was ingenuine, which I doubt it was. I thought it was genuine. But if it was, it didn't make a difference to me because it was like, okay, I feel better about this, seeing that you didn't have much to give as a kid. Right. You were a kid.
And then and to this day, I think it was also you had to get to a place where you realize who I was, that we just talked about this today, actually, how I'm present in the moment and I have a problem with out of sight, out of mind, and I think you got to feel for who I am, like, if you in my presence, I'm with you. I'm involved. I love you. Right. But if you I have a problem with reaching out, and that's something I still work on. I need to work on to this day, and I apologize for the fourth time.
No, because I also identified that within myself. Like, I'm not a great communication. I don't reach out to people unless they're in the forefront of my mind. Yeah. And usually it's people who's constantly reaching out to me, always in my face, or always communicating or just reaching out in general. Those are the people that's like, oh, let me reach out to her because she reached out to me constantly over the past couple of weeks, or your number's at the front of my phone. It takes for me to really be scrolling, and I'm like, oh yeah, let me call you and send you a good morning text.
I want to talk about these hypersensitive individuals in your millennium, in your generation, that hate their parents for some of the smallest things. What would you say to somebody that has not learned to appreciate who their parents is?
I don't know anybody's struggles or how their relationship formed with their parents, so it's hard for me to say let it go because I know it's a lot of nasty things in the world. But I would say heal for you. Healing for you creates purpose around your life. You know what I'm saying? It opens up the door so that you can find purpose. I would say get connected. I want to say with God, but for anybody else, spiritually. Become spiritually sound so that you can have mental peace, and restore yourself so that you can reach out into that relationship if that's what you want to do and begin to work through those problems. Absolutely. Traumas, it trickles into all your other relationships. It does. I've seen that in my relationships with whoever I was dealing with or the father of my child, or even my child. I had to reflect on myself like, okay, this is something I've learned, or this is a trait that I inherited, and to work through those kinks. So I would say, forgive them. I'm gonna say forgive them for you. Mm-hmm. Forgive them so that you can live and that you can live your best life.
Absolutely.
Because when people say, "Oh, you know, I don't care about this, I don't care about that," in the depths of your soul, all the way down at the bottom, you know, you think about it.
Yeah.
And it does affect everything that you do. It affects how you handle everything.
I'm glad you said that. How do you think your issues with me previously has affected romantic situations or other relationships?
I didn't believe in relationships.
Because of that?
Because of that.
Wow.
I think my first relationship I started when I was like 19, and it's the father of my child. And everybody like, oh, you're stuck on him or you're so in love with him. And after I broke up with him, because I never got right back in a relationship, it was like I never was in a relationship before him. And to this day, I'm not in a relationship. And it's just like, it's not anything that I feel like I need. I know a lot of people get wrapped up in like they need this other person to fulfill them. I don't need that. It's not something that I covet or that I crave. Is it something that I want for myself? Yes, but it's not something I feel like I need to check off a box.
Wow.
Like I feel like I know that I'm somebody's wife, so I don't have to go out here looking for a husband. It's never been a set, you know, and I feel like that's a good and a bad thing because sometimes I get stuck in my way and I'm so headstrong and I'm just doing what I'm doing. I don't see anybody else. So there doesn't even create opportunity for people to approach me. And when they do, sometimes I literally tell them, I'm not in the mood.
Wow.
I tell men that. They're like, oh, I want to date you, but I don't feel like it.
Wow. So so I'm just want to echo what I'm hearing, and you tell me if I'm hearing this correctly. So basically, because our relationship was non-existent, you struggle now with even believing that relationships or certain type of relationships are authentic or real.
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder how true is that for a lot of women and men, but I'm gonna speak on the women's side that's just out there seeming so callous, so cold-hearted. I'm just here for the money. I'm just here to do my thing.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just here to turn up. I don't care about the like. Do you think it's connected to a generation of people whose fathers wasn't there?
That's possible. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I think it's also just the way your parents love you. You know what I'm saying? My mother you were absent. My mother, I don't want to say she was cold, but she's not very affectionate. So for me, it wasn't something I received daily. So it's never been anything I've sought after. For some people, they start to yearn that and they go overboard and it's a possession. For other people, you kind of neglect that part of your life. And I think that's kind of what I've done to a point. Like, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. And another part of it, I think, is vulnerability. Do I want to allow you in? Do I trust that you're going to stay?
Do you struggle with a vulnerability?
I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's if we can explore that real quick. What are you scared of? Because vulnerability is usually linked to lack of vulnerability is usually linked to fear.
What am I afraid of? What vulnerability? It's not that someone will see my true intentions. I guess it is allowing someone in that won't stay. I don't like seasonal relationships. I like to be stable and secure. So anything that comes in this situation, it's like, then what was that for? And there's a lesson in it. You know, you can learn from anything, but that doesn't mean I'm appreciative after it leaves.
So is it possible that you feel like if you let someone in and they really see who you are, that they may not stay?
No, I don't think that.
So explore that. Clean that up for me.
It really is just letting them in and them choosing to leave. Okay. I don't think it'd have to do anything with me.
Right.
People have their own agendas.
Absolutely.
I think it would be more that our intentions aren't the same, that our purposes aren't aligned, and that I done wasted time. And I hate to say it like that, but that's the way I can.
You feel about it?
Yeah, like I done wasted time giving energy and giving affection and giving period to something that wasn't for me. I want to be properly aligned with whoever it is. So I just have to get to a point where I trust that and being vulnerable with people, letting them in, trusting that you're going to respect it, take care of it, and nurture that relationship.
Hey, listen, I want y'all to put at the bottom, man. How did you get over letting stuff go? How did you get over forgiving someone that hurt you, that broke you? And listen, don't forget to hit that subscribe, share, and like. And as always, we gonna continue to say what the church won't say. Till next time, we love y'all. Hey, you may hear fireworks in the back, but don't get it twisted. This is still what the church won't say.
We have difficult conversations at the
We have different complications.
That's the foot of the cross. One more time. Bring back for the people on the back.
They is back there. Here we go. You are tuned into What the Church Won't Say, where my daughter forgot her line. And she's still staring at the camera like I'm crazy. Hey, don't get it twisted. You are plugged into What the Church Won't Say.
Well, we have difficult conversations at the foot of the cross. Why you start laughing? That was gonna be good.
It was not. You wasn't ready. It was a pause. Oh, we really doing this. Oh, hey. Okay. You trying to match my swag?
Yeah, where we have conversations at the foot of the cross. We keep talking, we keep rapping, and we doing it like no.
The bars wasn't the same, but they're still so cool. I know what you're saying, but I'm preaching the truth. Know that my Lord, yeah, he is a Jew.
Look at me.
I don't know. We putting that in the blooper reel. You had a one hand pump. I see two hand pumps, but why the one hand?
This is